true fashion icon. He opened up his first shop in 1970 in Nottingham, and decades later, he sells his designs, including his exquisite, eye-catching suits, in over 70 countries, while also collaborating with brands such as Land Rover, Leica, the London Olympics, and Manchester United. Ladies and gentlemen, being interviewed by the irrepressible journalist and broadcaster Stacey Dooley, please welcome Sir Paul Smith.
That was a nice
I know, how lovely.
introduction. That was right.
I need to bin these notes.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. How are you all? I'm really feeling the part because I've got my Paul Smith suit on. So Paul, what we're going to do is it's a bit like This Is Your Life kind of vibe. So we're going to have a look at a couple of photos and talk through your journey.
Yep.
I'm sure all of you know who Sir Paul Smith is and what he's achieved, what he's accomplished.
You've all got my records.
And what a complete gent he is. And what a complete gent he is. Like the kindest, most loveliest, funniest man in fashion.
Cheers.
You're a dream.
Thank you.
So
You and my
let's
mum.
Start. Yeah,
agree
that's
with that,
it.
yeah.
We're your biggest fans. Let's start. I've got this. Will we start with the first one? This is amazing. So you sent me this a couple of weeks ago, and there's a brilliant story behind it. Take us right back to the beginning.
Well, my dad was an amateur photographer, and I get home from school one day, and
How old were you, Paul?
that age. What do you think? 8, 9, 10, 11?
I'm rubbish at this. You know, when people are showing me
So I
photos of
walk
their
into.
kids.
My dad he developed all his own film, had a dark room in the attic, and he loved trick photography. So I walk home, go in the back garden, and I see a rug on it, 2 boxes, and a sheet from my mum's bed hanging up. And then he said, "Oh, before you do your homework, just sit on there and pretend you can fly." So that was my dad. Typical. So then it turned up above Brighton Pavilion a few weeks ago in a photograph.
Where else? Where else?
2 negatives together, blacked out one of the negatives of me on the carpet, and then put the 2 negatives together. And I think that was the key thing about that was he gave me a camera when I was 11, and of course then cameras had a viewfinder, and then with the viewfinder, now we use the phone. We go click, 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 and delete 25. When you had film and no money, you couldn't see the image until you developed it. And you had to look through the viewfinder, so it taught you to look and see. And
A bit more considered.
That's really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Looking and seeing.
And so you were 11 at the time, you got your first camera.
Yeah.
And was there that appetite there? Did you want to be a photographer?
No, I mean, I wanted to be a racing cyclist. So I from the age of 12 to 18, all I was interested in was cycling, and then I did take photographs, but I didn't realise I liked photography. But I take photographs all the time now. It's lovely.
So you were taking photos for a while when you were tiny, and then you were mad into cycling,
Yep.
and you were brilliant. Like I've read about how much you achieved in that world.
Well, I broke a lot of bones. So that was sure. Yeah.
But you were in hospital for a couple of months at one time.
Yeah. Well, I was. I wanted to be a professional, but I never would. Just wasn't good enough, so I would never have been a professional. But you know, I looked good. You know.
You looked the part.
Yeah. I used to go out training, and then people realised that it meant I was on a train. No, I mean, I had a bad crash when I was 17 and a half, and then ended up in hospital, and then I discovered the world of fashion, which is the story's too long and boring to talk about today in 25 minutes, but I suddenly discovered fashion, and that was why I'm here, I suppose, today, which is good.
And whenever we talk about how you started, how you sort of found your foot in fashion, you always credit Pauline. So let's meet you when you were 21 in this photo, I think.
That's me in my first shot.
There he is.
Yeah, go to the next one quickly.
Let's just have a quick look at you.
I know I look gorgeous, but you know.
So
Yeah.
tell us very, very quickly about this shop.
Well, I started my first shop in 1856. Now I started my first shop in 1970. Shows how old I am. Only open Fridays and Saturdays because I needed to earn money. So the rest of the week I was earning money just by doing anything, which in fact is another contributing factor to why I've managed to survive these many years, is because you learn a lot by just doing all sorts of jobs. And so at some point I've done packing the boxes, selling the clothes, cutting the fabric, etc. But this shop was 12 foot square, only open Fridays and Saturdays, and selling things that nobody wanted, really.
What was in the shop?
Pardon?
What was in the shop? What were you selling?
Well, the thing is that Pauline and I made a lot of the clothes, and then I sold Kenzo. I was the first person in the whole of England to have Kenzo, Sonia Ricciel, Margaret Howell, who were all people I knew, and then some clothes from me, and then 501 Levi's, which you couldn't get out of London at the time.
Because the shop was in Nottingham, right?
Yeah, but it was absolutely what people didn't want in Nottingham. So that's why I'm a genius businessman, really.
And tell me what it was like the first few months.
So honestly, it was so unique that I wouldn't be able to survive on it. So that's why I did other jobs Monday to Thursday and earned money, and then on Friday and Saturday I didn't have to compromise. So that's almost certainly why I'm Pauline, and the fact that I've never compromised is the reason I'm here today, because you've got the purity of this little shop on Fridays and Saturdays, which no compromise, and I wouldn't have survived on that if I hadn't have had an income from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's getting that balance right, and that's a top tip for anybody who's in the audience, who is that if you won't survive on just image, and you won't survive on just commerciality, but you have got more chance if you've got the two together. Walk like an Egyptian, basically. That's image, and this is paying the rent.
That's work ethic, and that's the support from Pauline.
Yeah.
Let's look at Pauline.
Yeah.
She's a dream in this.
Yeah.
There she
that
is.
was in 1980-something, maybe. Unfortunately, she still looks the same, and I look like a football player in that particular picture, and don't look the same. I met her when I was 21.
How did you meet?
She was teaching at the art school in Nottingham. I was a shop assistant, and I was very close to the art school because they had good gigs. They had good bands and lots of parties. And then one day I met Pauline. I met Pauline because she had an Afghan hound, and I wanted an Afghan hound. And one of the students said, "Oh, there's a girl at school who's got an Afghan hound. You should meet her."
It's called Homer.
Pardon? Homer, yeah, that's right. He was, in fact, Homer was the first manager in the shop.
Sure.
Yeah, and we looked exactly the same. Yeah, big nose, long hair. And they always used to talk to him first. It was really...
Who's in charge?
Yeah.
And tell me,
But
so
anyway,
the first conversation you had with Pauline, did you fancy her straight away?
Not at all, no. She was from London. Weird. Married. 2 kids. 2 dogs, 2 cats. I was 21, lived at home with my mum and earning £8 a week, so not really a great prospect ahead. No, we took the dogs out for a walk because she stayed with the breeders of Afghans. By chance was in Nottingham, so she stayed at their house 2 nights a week, and then she said, "Oh, take the dogs out." So we took the dogs out, and then one day. I can't tell you in front of everybody.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. Anyway, we fell in love. She came to live with me. So age 21, I had 2 dogs, 2 cats and 2 kids.
And she was a bit older than you, 27?
27, I was 21. And so it was a big growing up thing. It was fantastic. Just learnt a lot. One of the boys was 5, one was 8. 1 black dog, 1 blonde dog, 1 long-haired cat, 1 short-haired cat.
When we first met, Paul, I remember you saying to me, actually, if it hadn't have been for Pauline, none of this would have materialised, none of this would have happened.
That's completely true.
She really gave me a kick up the arse and said, look, you've got so much talent here, there's so much potential, we need to get our arse in gear.
Yeah. The main reason why I've managed to do okay was because she trained at the Royal College of Art as a fashion designer, and she trained when they were still teaching couture fashion. So it was very much about how you made things, the importance of quality. And there were far more talented people around then, but a lot of the product just wasn't good enough quality. So they'd send it to America, to Barney's or to Bon Marché in Paris, and then get it all back. But ours was really well made, so that was down to Pauline.
I love that you said you've done okay. We were having a quick nose at what you've achieved. So you sell your stock in over 70 countries. There's 200 stores in Japan alone, nearly 400 stores globally. 1979, you opened your first London store in Covent Garden. Last year alone, 1 million socks were sold, 500,000 shirts.
I think they're all here tonight.
Over 100,000 suits. And what really sets you aside, and I think what's very rare in fashion, I'm told, speaking to loads of people on the inside, is that you're still independent. You yourself still work in the shops. You still own most of the company.
Yep.
You still work so hard. It's very much your baby.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah, we are rare now because, as you know, many of the fantastic designers around the world have been taken over by the large companies, and somehow managed to stay independent. We've never really borrowed money. I'm still there, getting to work at 6 every morning.
Why have you been able to manage that when others haven't?
Pauline, keep your feet on the ground. You know, the thing when you've got somebody like that, stability at home, and you've got somebody who's really sets the standard of quality, and also, you're not great looking, but you do make me laugh. That's Pauline.
I'll keep you for another year.
Yeah, or you go around the world, Concord, this, that, and the other, and you get in, and she says, the car needs MOT-ing, don't you?
You need to fix that cupboard while you're here.
Yeah, I know. So the delight of being kept normal is fantastic. And the joy of every day. We're all on the earth for such a short time that, gosh, please have a good day every day.
Got it right, Paul.
Yeah.
Let's look at the next.
Is that it?
No, we've got a couple more. Who's this? I've no clue who this man is.
Oh, look at that cheeky monkey over there.
I can't.
Yeah.
Tell me about this picture, Paul.
That was a GQ shoot, yeah. And David was a mate of mine, and of course I absolutely desperate to get in on the picture. So I was like looking around.
Paul and I have just had our photos taken, and I was meant to do a really square, highbrow kind of journalistic shot, and Paul's got his arse out the back of the shot round the curtain. So that's the one they'll use, certainly. But yeah, go on.
Nothing changes, that's
No.
right. I can't remember when I met David for the first time, but I think I was up in my studio above the shop in Floral Street in Covent Garden, and one of the kids rang up and said there's about 600 people outside the shop because
to see me?
David Bowie's shopping, and then I got to know him that way. One of the most beautiful stories was a friend of mine was 18 and he was getting his first suit, and we have 3 changing rooms in Covent Garden in a row, and this lad comes out, he's put his first suit on, he looks in the mirror, and this door opens of this changing room, and this guy looks at him and goes, "You look great, mate." And that was David Bowie. And my mate's son just went, froze pure white. Yeah, you'll never forget that. Anyway, we worked with David until the day he died. We did the T-shirts for the Black Star album, which I got a request for in November, and then he passed away in January. So that was just really a close association I've had with musicians. I made trousers for Jimmy Page when I was 18, I think he must have been about 19. His waist was 24, but the trousers at the bottom was 28. So, and we're still mates. He was in the studio last week. And then we worked recently with Patti Smith, and we still work with a lot of bands. And people like you, of course.
Well, of course, I'm up there, surely.
Yeah. First time she came to see me, she says, "Oh, hello, it's nice to see you. Spilt tea all over me."
I threw it all over. So Paul's got this beautiful room. His offices are immaculate, and everyone that works there, I promise you, that it's a real dream. It's a lovely experience. It's not, fashion or it doesn't feel too exclusive. It feels really inclusive. And I went up to this room, and there's beautiful gear everywhere. That people have sent him all of these gifts from around the world. They've taken the time to make him all these beautiful things. I'm sort of sat there. I think, don't do anything. Don't sort of break anything. And I've got this hot tea, and I literally just throw it right across this room that's full of all of this.
So that was my introduction to this young lady.
Yeah. Wiping it off. And you said you had a similar experience with the King of Denmark.
Yeah. Well, I'm a mate of the future King of Denmark, and the first time I met him, it was in a cafe very early in the morning, and there was only us two in the cafe at the front, And then I was a bit nervous. So I realised I spilt milk all over him. And then I decided that I would actually wipe the milk off of him. And at that point, I was under the table, wiping the milk off of the future king of Denmark. And then then the cafe started to get him full. And I was like, oh, hello. just wiping milk off the future king of Denmark.
Oh.
Anyway, that was the comparison.
There you go.
Yeah. Have we got any more pics?
Yeah, let's have a look. I love this picture so much.
Oh, yeah, Japan.
Tell us about your relationship with Japan, because it's very special.
It's a beautiful relationship. I got invited there in 1982 by a company who were looking for young designers, which I was at the time, from Europe. And I went economy class, didn't request a big car, stayed in an ordinary hotel. A lot of other people from that period were invited from around the world, and they just got their heads around it the wrong way. They're thinking, oh, this is a good way of earning some money quick. You know, the Japanese, you just send them a couple of videos of your fashion show twice a year, a few colours, and you earn lots of cash. I went there thinking, wow, I'm going to this place called Japan. How exciting. And didn't demand anything, got my head around it, loved the food. I mean, it was very foreign then.
Yeah.
I went outside the Imperial... Oh, sorry, I was scratching my ear. Is it still...
It's still there. Don't touch the mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Britney Spears mics are a massive pain.
It's funny about having an ear.
Yeah, go on.
And the...
Will I help you?
Anyway, yeah, cheers. It's only so I could get Stacey to give me a bit of a cut.
Go on.
I was outside the Imperial Palace, and all these school kids, 1982, they were like, because they'd never seen a foreign person before. I mean, so it was very different times. But now I've been over 100 times. I think we're the 5th biggest company in the whole of Japan. I don't know. We do well. 180 million, I think it is.
200 stores in Japan.
I know. Can you imagine vacuuming it every morning? I have to get up at 4. I don't finish till like 8.
Oh, you wouldn't do.
Then I've got to get back to England
to
do the London shop.
Sort the one out in Covent Garden.
No, it's been brilliant. The interesting thing about Japan, and I know we haven't got much time, but the interesting thing about Japan, I was very humble. I went there very humble. I wanted to integrate. I wanted to learn their way. A lot of other people went really arrogant, thought they'd make loads of cash, lasted for 3 years, and then have gone. But if you go and you just work it out, it's fantastic. The great thing about Japan is they really appreciate hard work and they really respect experience as well. So that's why we've done well there.
Why do the Japanese customers seemingly adore Paul Smith as a label?
I think it was a combination of, about 3 things. One is that I was good mates with a guy who's got a brand called Porter's, who's a very cool bag brand. And he was a friend of mine, and he knew all the stylists and the journalists. So I got to know the press quite quickly. The other thing was just working it out myself. And then the fact that they liked the English style at the time, and now our style is more international, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But
I've actually been into one of your stores in Japan, and I've had a nose at a couple of the photos as well elsewhere, and they're all so different. So there's one that's full of cassettes, there's one that's full of coins. Is there matchstick boxes as well?
Yeah. One's got 52,000 postage stamps. One's got matchboxes on the walls. One's got. We have 12 in-house shop designers. So we design all our shops, and we intentionally don't want all our shops to look the same.
Why?
So, because online is so important now, so you've got to make the customer experience of going into a shop a good one. So they feel like it's always worth going into a smithy shop just because there might be something interesting, or the wall of art is interesting, or there could be some old vinyl or something. So otherwise, if all the shops look the same,
too generic.
No reason to go to them. You might as well just go like that online.
Right. Oh, I love the story behind this as well. So there's a really interesting fact about this store. Tell us, Paul.
It's very popular.
They love it.
We design all our shops in-house, as I said. So when sitting at my table in Covent Garden with just a black line of a plan of a shop in Melrose Avenue, 8221, I think, Melrose. I just thought, well, you've got to design a shop. I mean, that is the only lady that's ever walked in Los Angeles, because everybody else drives.
They drive to this corner, get the shot, and then go elsewhere.
So they all drive. So I thought, you've got to build the Eiffel Tower. And what I meant by that was you've got to build something which is very distinctive. So we built this pink box, 5,000 square feet. And without realizing it, it's become the most Instagrammed building in all of California.
More than the Hollywood sign.
More than the Hollywood sign, more than the Frank Gehry Music Hall. I mean, it's amazing. We had a lady recently arrive with her cow to be photographed outside. It didn't buy anything.
I mean, you're so humble and you'll never say it, but stuff like you must be just completely blown away. There must be moments, Paul, where you're thinking, how on earth has this all played out? Like, how did I get here?
The time, thank you, but the time I notice it the most is when I go to Nottingham to my warehouse, and it's this huge 100 staff, and we send out 3.5 million pieces of clothing a year from that one warehouse, and it's so huge, and I think, has this anything to do with me? Honestly, it still shocks me. I can't believe it. It's so mad what's happened, but it's been gradual. People often say, when did you have your breakthrough? And I say never, because it's always just been...
Slowly.
Yeah.
I'm going to get told off because I'm always running over. Tell me about this. This in Palm Springs.
Yeah, this is me, a picture by me in Palm Springs. And then if you go to the next picture...
I like this because it's on the clothes.
And then this is the collection that's in the shops now, which is using my dad's photographs and my photographs. So, for instance, that picture there, the palm trees are from that picture you just saw, but the parachutist is from one of my dad's pictures. So all these years later, after the flying carpet, still putting two pictures together and using them in a way my father would have seen them.
Did he ever get to see your work?
Nah. Well, I mean...
Not like this when
I mean, he saw that I did okay. I think the best thing was when I got the freedom of the city of Nottingham. He was really pleased that I could take a herd of sheep across Trent Bridge if I wanted.
We've made it.
Yeah, I know. He said, and then there was an article in the Beast and Gazette and Echo, and he was like, "Madge," that was my mum. "He's in the Beast and Gazette and Echo."
He's landed.
Made it. I think we're out of here, aren't we?
I think I've got one more minute. Have I got one more minute?
Yeah.
They said don't go over because lunch is very tight.
Is that it?
But no, this is the woman as well. This is the new collection, Paul?
That's in the new collection that's in the shops now, yeah. So that's a combination of the picture from my... 3 pictures from my dad and 1 picture from me.
And what are the parts from your father's pictures in this
the palm trees mine, the rest of my dad's. He never went abroad. So
he never left the country, your dad?
Well, he went. I took him to Mallorca for their silver wedding anniversary, and he was really impressed that the water didn't move when we were on the aeroplane. He had his water on the table. He said, "Look, son, it doesn't move." He was so chuffed.
We're not being thrown all over.
This is the only time we went abroad. When I used to come back from the cycle club. I know we're out of time. When I used to come back from the cycle club. One time somebody told me about a cyclist called Jacques Anquetil. So I came back and said, "Dad, I'm really into Jacques Anquetil." And my dad said, "What are those words?"
What are you saying?
Not like, who's he? What are those words? Shall we go?
Well, the cycling world's loss is our gain. Paul, I can't tell you, Paul is such a gen. I am totally obsessed with him. He is completely brilliant, and I just wish you so much luck going forwards. And
Thank you.
I hope that I get to hang out with you.
This is coming from a lady who's done pretty well.
So
well done.
Paul, thank you.